Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duck Bricks. I'm Chris, and well, at the time of this recording, I just got back from a fantastic vacation where I visited places in the Middle East such as Dubai and United Arab Emirates, and oh boy, was I surprised at the amount of different LEGO shopping experiences available there. Now before I get started here, I do want to kick things off by saying that I discovered not one, but two massive used LEGO stores featuring a ton of discontinued LEGO products in Dubai. And so I figured they were big enough and important enough that they deserve videos of their own. So for this video, we will not be talking about the elephant in the room, which were the massive used LEGO stores, and instead I'll just be talking about generally the shopping experience for LEGO in the Middle East, at least in the locations that I was able to visit, and my tips and tricks for the best LEGO stores in Dubai and the UAE. And so without further ado, let's just jump right into my journey right now. Alright, so I basically counted up all the different places that I was able to go to in Dubai for LEGO shopping, and I counted a sum total of 26. So unlike some previous videos like my shopping adventure in Portugal, which you can check out linked below, where I literally went location by location on the timeline, I think that will probably take up too much time here, and we're gonna be here forever. Also, a lot of the locations I went to were pretty much these same branches of known locations, such as Toys R Us, LEGO stores, and a few random other things here and there. So I decided to split up this video by essentially just kind of walking you through the different types of toy stores I went to, anything interesting I spotted at them, and finally, of course, wrapping up the video with a massive haul from pretty much all the LEGO I got from Dubai, except for the aforementioned used stores. I think the first one to start off with is a big one. Everyone probably knows what this is, Toys R Us, which unfortunately no longer really exists in the US. They're kind of trying to make a comeback, but for the most part, Toys R Us is just kind of gone. But in Dubai, they are well alive and thriving. I visited up to 6 different Toys R Us locations across Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and the selection was honestly pretty mixed. Essentially what I was trying to find at these locations were either sets that were discontinued that I missed out on, or just some kind of rare items that I just didn't own already. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on the way you see it, I pretty much own every existing current LEGO set for the most part. There are very few things that I actually am still looking for, so this was just kind of an adventure to see what kinds of things they had in stock, and seeing if I was able to find anything I didn't own. A particular focus was put on more recent LEGO Technic sets. I really only started collecting almost every single large-scale Technic set during the pandemic, so I pretty much missed out on a lot of good stuff pre-2020, and I've just been slowly making up for it via Bricklink orders and just kind of randomly encountering stuff in stores like this. So, first of all, Toys R Us, the locations were very similar to the ones in the US. Some of them were much smaller than others in the form of pop-up stores, and on the other hand, they had some very large warehouses. You can actually see one right here. This was probably the largest Toys R Us I visited. It was actually down by the pier in Dubai. Kind of a shady area, not gonna lie, but it was a very nice location to visit because they had a massive selection, and since it was so placed out of the way, they actually had some pretty interesting stuff to see. One set that I found that unfortunately I had literally ordered from Bricklink about a week before finding it was the 2018 red Technic mobile crane here. This is a set that again I missed out on because I wasn't really collecting Technic around 2018. I was really regretting it. It was the flagship set of the year, and since it's my goal to own every single Technic flagship set, this was absolutely on my list. Thankfully though, I did get a better price on Bricklink because I did buy it used instead of new. This was selling for pretty much retail, whereas the one I bought on Bricklink was actually below retail for used. So I think I got a good deal out of it. I obviously would have just easily gone for the new had I known it would have been there, but such is the hunt for LEGO. You never really know what you're gonna get. So after leaving this Toys R Us location, I was able to visit quite a few other ones. Unfortunately, nothing really memorable was found at the Toys R Us locations. Probably one of the most interesting things I did find were, in typical Toys R Us fashion, a few sets that were street dated to come out on January 1st. I actually visited Dubai back in 2021 in December, so they were putting out a few sets early, but at that point I was willing to just wait for them to come out because I was just ready to get them at Shop at Home and in stores. So Toys R Us, for the most part,
nothing really too crazy was found there. Not a lot of older sets or rarer sets besides the one set that I already did own. One thing that I do want to note was that I did find a ton of LEGO Hidden Side sets. It seems that Hidden Side unfortunately did not really sell all too well, so that wasn't too surprising to me, but it was kind of unfortunate to see so many Hidden Side sets, especially because I think it's a really good theme, just one that a lot of fans missed out on because of the AR aspect not really clicking with people. So, beyond Toys R Us, I think that I wanted to mention a few of kind of the random other stores before we get into the main LEGO stores and the good stuff. So people living in the US may or may not be familiar with this, but there used to be a big chain of books called Borders out. Especially when I was a kid, I used to go to Borders all the time, and unfortunately in the US, Borders was kind of destroyed by Amazon. Somehow Barnes & Noble survived, but Borders almost completely went out of business. Basically every single Borders location in the US just closed down, which is why I was incredibly surprised to find Borders alive and well and having multiple locations. I visited up to 3 in the Middle East, in specifically Abu Dhabi and Dubai. I haven't really done my research on it. If I had to guess, they maybe got bought out by a company operating in this area, which is why they're still kind of alive here. Not really sure why Borders managed to survive in the Middle East, but yeah, here they were, and Borders actually had a much more interesting selection of LEGO than I would have thought. You see, they had sets dating all the way back to around 2019, specifically from the LEGO Movie 2 era, and while I did already, of course, own every single LEGO Movie 2 set, it was still interesting seeing a lot of these older sets on shelves, especially which sets survived from the 2018-2019 era. Specifically, I noted a lot of copies of the Queen Whatever I Wanna Be Build-It box. Apparently that was not a very popular set, which again also doesn't really surprise me, but I was very surprised at the prevalence I would see the sets all around different stores. And it wasn't just Borders. I went to kind of a discount store in Dubai that advertised selling LEGO, and I found a ton of them on the shelves as well. Just kind of interesting how that particular set seemed to be in very high stock at a ton of different locations here. Of course, there were some random one-off stores too. A Little Things toy store that I went on right before going on the Dubai Eye Ferris wheel. I went to some early learning centers to find LEGO, where I actually did find some older stuff, which we're gonna find at the end of this haul. And I even went to a ton of grocery stores, which surprisingly, almost every single grocery store in Dubai sold LEGO. Who knew? Of course, amidst all this LEGO shopping, I did actually have to go do some touristy things as well, see some friends, hang out with family, of course visit the deserty areas. We got to go out and take actually a desert safari, which was really cool because I got a lot of sweet pictures of Mata Nui kind of in the desert of Barra Magna here, as well as the ninja exploring the desert from the Ninjago line. This was of course before January 1st, so I just had them in their older Seabound outfits. And then of course when January 1st hit, there was a mad rush to go to the LEGO stores, and that's where the few more interesting stories arise. So I visited a couple LEGO stores before the first, but I really wanted to kind of save them until January 1st hit so I could check out some of the new 2022 sets in stores. So there are a lot of LEGO stores in the Dubai and United Arab Emirates area. Aside from Legoland, which is a whole other story, there are a ton of LEGO certified stores, because you see, technically there are no quote-unquote official LEGO stores in the Middle East. But for all intents and purposes, they are pretty much official. They have the exact same layout as a lot of the official LEGO stores in the US. They sell pretty much the same stuff. They get most sets on release day. There are just a few quirks and oddities about them that I did just kind of want to mention as we kind of go through this tour. First of all, almost every single LEGO store had what they called a quote-unquote part sale. I wasn't really sure what that meant until I realized that it was actually something that was used not specifically by LEGO. I saw a lot of stores just saying part sale, but I think that's just their way of saying that certain sets and figures were on some sort of discount. The biggest sale that I witnessed were on keychains. Almost every LEGO store had a 25 to 50% off discount on keychains, which actually made them really worth it. And what was interesting is that I found a ton of older LEGO keychains really just kind of scattered about throughout these stores. They had pretty much the full suite of LEGO Nexo Knights keychains from 2016, they had Star Wars keychains dating all the way back to 2016 and even before that 2015 era with some Force Awakens stuff. We had some Avengers Age of Ultron keychains. There were just a lot of really old things to see here. You can kind of see that exemplified by this particular random keychain wall here, where there's just a lot of different stuff that you could get, which I just found really interesting because I guess they don't sell too well in Dubai, which is why they had so many older ones. But then again, I don't know why they would still stock the newer ones if they were selling that poorly. So who knows, but they had them on deep discount. Aside from keychains though, the set selection was almost pretty much just what you would expect. Surprisingly, I found that most Toys R Us stores actually had a larger selection than almost any of the LEGO stores here, specifically because Toys R Us and LEGO stores had pretty much the same selection for current sets, but then Toys R Us had a lot of older sets sprinkled around as well, plus a ton of D2Cs that for whatever reason LEGO stores did not have. So that was a little surprising to me, but again, nothing super out of the ordinary. Pretty much everything at the LEGO stores were what you would expect. What I did really enjoy about looking at the LEGO stores though were the different displays that you could find within these stores themselves. After visiting Ferrari World and riding the world's fastest roller coaster, I went to the attached LEGO store in the mall that was adjacent to it, where they had a very large-scale LEGO Ferrari which absolutely was unique to this particular location. In fact, almost every single one of the Dubai LEGO stores had some sort of large sculpture of something that was completely different than what you would see in the US. From a random green tower perched in the middle of the LEGO store to a full-size mosaic of a Middle Eastern temple, there were a lot of really unique things specific to the Middle East that I found at these LEGO stores, which I really enjoyed. Even some sculptures like a large-scale LEGO Super Mario sculpture were things that I haven't really seen before, but were prevalent in almost every single LEGO store, which I found to be really fun. Now, there was actually one pretty interesting thing that I did find that was technically sort of an official LEGO store, but it wasn't really the same as anything else. And this is not something I've seen literally anywhere else in the world, and I really wish the US had these. So I was going through the mall and I noticed these massive banners that were adorning these sides of the hallway. Play with Lego bricks. They were advertising all sorts of different Lego themes, and what really caught my eye was the frequency of these different banners and how they were all leading to a special logo that was Pop In and Play for Lego. So very unfortunately, when I got here, the Pop In and Play store was closed. There was no one manning it, it was completely empty. I doubt they would have let me in anyway, but they had a lot of really interesting stuff here. You see, this was a pretty unique concept for a LEGO store, and one that I noticed was a common trend among some of the used LEGO stores as well. See, the Pop In and Play LEGO station essentially was a way for kids to just literally pop in and play. They can enter the area, play with a ton of different LEGO bricks, and then just leave. There wasn't really anything for sale. If I had to imagine, maybe they could have been selling some of the items inside, but for the most part, most of the LEGO was just kept there for kids to play with. Now, looking in the display windows, I saw a ton of different treasures, and I honestly was really bummed that I could not be let into here just because I wanted to kind of see what sorts of things they had. First of all, as you can see, kind of adorning the window here, there were a ton of minifigures from across different eras of LEGO's history. Of course, a lot of these are mismatched, but you can see pieces to some of the Clone Wars stuff, some older Ninjago sets from 2015 and even 2014, a lot of the older Star Wars stuff from even 2013, and specifically when looking through the windows at the builds that were featured on display there, you can actually see a lot of vintage and older LEGO sets, ranging from incredibly old sets to some that were fairly modern, but still old enough to be considered pretty rare and discontinued at this point. All in all, the Pop In and Play store was probably the most interesting quote-unquote official LEGO branch of pretty much anything that I could find over in the Middle East. It was certainly a very unique concept. Again, I just kind of wish that they had these in the US. I think it's a really cool concept. Don't necessarily know how well it would work, but there were a lot of really interesting pieces there. You could see some Hero Factory 1.0 stuff, a ton of CCBS and Bionicle pieces, a really cool Frozen Elsa's Ice Castle using some very rare transparent blue pieces, and if you look in the back, those are just bins and bins and bins of LEGO pieces, of which I found a lot of rare things just by looking in the window. So a very tantalizing display of parts I could not get my hands on. But with that summed up, it's probably time to talk about one of the most interesting experiences that I had at a LEGO store. Nothing particularly rare, but just a very interesting experience. So, just for some context, back when the Ultimate Collector Series AT-AT or AT-AT Walker launched in November of 2021, they had a special gift with purchase that you could only get by purchasing the AT-AT Walker, Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. This was a special GWP, very similar to the Yoda's lightsaber that they did alongside the Mos Eisley Cantina Master Build set, but what's really special about this is the printed tile that says Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, and there was literally no way to get this outside of buying the UCS AT-AT, which of course I already did own. So what was interesting is that I was looking around the store, and the shop owner came up to me, just personally, he walked up to me, and he said, look, here, if you spend something close to the amount of the UCS AT-AT, maybe not 800 US dollars, but let's say 500, 400, 500, maybe 600, I'll just give this to you, no questions asked. This absolutely would not have happened in the US. I just found it really funny how he walked up to me, maybe he saw that I was spending a lot of extra time looking at the new 2022 sets. This was specifically on January 1st, and he just proposed a deal. So now I was kind of left with a bit of a quandary, because you see, I had already ordered every single January 1st, 2022 set. You can actually see them on my massive haul, also linked below, and they were being shipped to my address in the US. So, because I was currently on vacation, I was not planning on buying literally any 2022 set. I had not intended to get any of them. However, when he came up to me, I saw an opportunity for maybe having a bit of a return on investment. If I could say buy some of the 2022 sets here, I could easily just sell the Luke Skywalker's lightsaber and just make an easy $150 to $200, or even just trade in the lightsaber at a used Lego store, which eventually I ended up doing. I actually went to a used Lego store that was local to my college, Andy's Brick Shop, traded in the lightsaber for a ton of Lego items, which you can see a sneak peek of right here. Anyways though, I was at the store, so I figured, you know what the heck, I'm just gonna buy every single Lego Ninjago 2022 set. So I literally just went and bought every single one. I built them in my hotel. It was a pretty fun and crazy experience. I literally had to buy an extra luggage to carry them all home, so I guess who's really winning here? I spent way more on the luggage than I would have actually gotten by selling the lightsaber for money, but you know what, whatever. It was a fun experience and I needed an extra luggage anyway, so I got every single new 2022 Ninjago set, which I obviously will not be showing at the end of this video here because I actually published a review of them while I was in Dubai. You can actually see that also linked in the description below. Notice how the background is completely different because that was just my hotel in Dubai and not actually my house. So I did all that. I finally got the lightsaber, and there were a few extra items I got from the Lego store as well, which we'll be covering at the end of this haul. Really just some random Disney princesses stuff that I just didn't own already, but I liked the look of enough that I wanted to have them for myself. And so, after that whole adventure, there was only one last stop to make, and that was Legoland Dubai. So, Legoland Dubai was pretty much very similar to any other Legoland out there, save for one key detail. It was literally empty, and this was not a Legoland thing, this was a theme park in Dubai thing. You see, I visited a ton of different theme parks in Dubai, and aside from Ferrari World and UAE, which was actually pretty busy, pretty much every other theme park was a total ghost town. But none were worse than Legoland Dubai. I think I saw literally one other guest during the time I spent there. I was able to speed run every single ride that I was allowed on from between the hours of opening to before lunch, so it was pretty crazy. Unfortunately, the Dragon roller coaster was shut down because of maintenance, so I didn't actually get to ride that, but I did ride that the last time I went to Dubai, so it wasn't a big deal. I was just kind of astounded at how empty it was. This was something I was used to. The last time I was actually in Dubai was 2018, and it also was a total ghost town there too, so don't really know what was going on with that. It was the same for a lot of other theme parks, but hey, that meant I got to enjoy the theme park all to myself. And really the most clustered concentration of people I saw was actually in the Miniland section. Almost every single park guest kind of just hung out in Miniland, didn't do any of the rides, which is why you can see I was just chilling literally by myself, zero lines, speedrunning the rides. It was a fun time. I just hung out with family, went around the rides, finished the park in half a day. So that's what it was. Now, Legoland gift shops actually did have some interesting items. Specifically, they had a lot of the older Lego Nexo Knights play swords for very, very cheap. I believe they were selling them for about $1 to $3 each US dollars, so I got all the ones I didn't own already. They're just kind of some random shields, but hey, I just wanted them to kind of play around with, and since they were so cheap, I could not pass them up. They also had a lot of older sets, specifically around the 2018 era from the Powerpuff Girls lineup, so I did want to get those because I wanted to complete my collection of random licensed theme sets. So there's just a lot of random stuff that I got here, alongside some DC Superhero Girl sets as well, which also were discontinued around 2018. And finally, With all of that wrapped up, there was just one last thing at Legoland that I actually have dedicated a separate video for. They had a really interesting pick-a-brick wall with some super rare items, some parts that literally have never been released in any set before, but that's for another video. So stay tuned for that if you are interested in checking out my pick-a-brick haul from Legoland Dubai. There was just one last Lego shop that I did want to mention that was probably one of the highlights of my trip, if I'm being honest. So essentially, while I was looking for other used Lego stores, I came across the site Alab Toys, which is literally alab.toys, specialized Lego store from Dubai, UAE. So this was really interesting because I wasn't really sure what exactly to make of this. They do not have any physical stores, but they did have a promise that they would deliver any item that you order from their store within one day if you were in Dubai. So I figured, why not give it a try, and I wanted to check out what exact Lego that they actually had in stock. And to my surprise, they actually had a lot of really interesting stuff. Not only did they have a lot of the newer Lego sets and even some older Lego sets that were still sealed, but they actually had a lot of used Lego sets as well, which I found to be really interesting because their catalog went back many years. And this was essentially kind of the same as ordering from, say, a Bricklink store, except that you are actually just being able to go through and have it shipped directly to you. So it was really cool because they're selling specific minifigures from collectible minifig series. They had some older Lego sets as well. Right now, looking at their store, they had a little bit less selection than they actually did before. They had a lot more rare and older stuff when I was actually looking through it, but that's probably because I did buy up a lot of the rarer and older items that I specifically wanted to get. Now, what was very exciting to me was that it's obviously not on the store now because I purchased it, but what I got were some Bionicle G2 sets. Yes, that's right, in 2022, I was able to get some more Bionicle G2 sets. Now, we will be covering these later in the haul. I do already own duplicates of pretty much all the G2 sets, but these ones in particular, I had actually modified quite a bit for my own collection, which is why I wanted to actually buy the official, just standard sets, so I could kind of display them next to my modifications to show just how different they are. And so we will get to that in the haul, but this is kind of just a sneak peek for later. An amazing experience. I ordered the sets. Within a day, I opened my hotel room and there was a Lego bag just waiting for me right on the doorstep of my hotel room. Right when I opened the door, there was a fantastic Lego bag. It was a custom printed plastic Lego bag as well, featuring a ton of great older Lego sets. With that though, let's now move on. I think it's now a perfect time to get right into the haul.
So I think it's appropriate to start off this haul with one of the reasons why I spent so much money on Lego in Dubai in the first place. You see, I wasn't even planning on buying pretty much any Lego in Dubai because I thought it would be just a lot more expensive and there wasn't really anything for me to get. I had already ordered every single January 1st Lego set on Shop at Home. They would have been delivered in a few days after returning from my trip. But I got swayed to the dark side by Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, this build is exclusive if you purchase the Ultimate Collector Series AT-AT for $800. Now, I actually did already own the set. I got it when I purchased the AT-AT back in November for $800. So I never thought I would own another one of these because these are really sought after free gifts. But then the store owner in Dubai approached me and we struck up a deal. As I mentioned earlier in the video, if I spent close to $500 to $600 on Lego, he would have just given me this for free. So of course, I had to take him up on the offer. I bought every single Ninjago set, and I bought a couple more sets, which you're about to see on this list. But first of all, I did have to showcase, this is actually the one that I got back in November. The second copy is currently fully sealed and will stay fully sealed for a while. I just kind of intend to keep that in case I want to eventually sell it later down the line, kind of make some money back on my investment here. But as of right now, this is the Luke Skywalker lightsaber build. Pretty happy to actually own this one. It is a really well done lightsaber and will look really good next to the Yoda's lightsaber, which came out around the same time as the Mos Eisley Cantina. With that, let's move on to some of the actual other sets in the haul besides just this free gift, which somehow I was talked into spending much more than I intended to just to get another copy of this. But honestly, I feel like it was kind of worth it because, as I mentioned, these sets were pretty much priced at retail compared to the US. Some of them were even cheaper, and this is now something that I can sell much later on, or at least the sealed version, for literally hundreds of dollars. So as far as I'm concerned, I walked away with the better end of the deal. Or at least that's what I'm going to tell myself. So while I was shopping through some random Borders bookstore locations in Dubai, I randomly came across a couple of sealed DC superhero girls sets. These are actually pretty interesting because Lego at some point in 2018, they decided to make the DC superhero girls line, which is focused on mini dolls from the DC universe. Unfortunately, the line did not perform well at all, and I actually did not ever own a single set from it, which I kind of am now regretting because the sets honestly aren't too bad. It's just the fact that the character selection wasn't that great, and to be honest, it just probably was a somewhat ill-conceived line to begin with because there really wasn't that much interest in the DC Superheroes Girls show. But all that aside, I'm happy to finally be able to actually pick up some of these sets. Here we have the Bumblebee Helicopter right here, and we also have Lashina's tank. So all just really small sets. They were pretty much priced at retail or even below retail. I believe that a few of these were actually on sale. So it was pretty interesting to actually be able to find these new and sealed just in a store in Dubai, which is kind of a great place to find some older, semi-discontinued Lego sets, because basically here in the States, you probably would not be finding any of these sealed on shelves anymore. So the Bumblebee Helicopter is pretty simple. You just have the bubble canopy here with some control panels. You just move the control panels down to remove the figure. One interesting thing the figures did in the DC Superhero Girls line was introduce this kind of vinyl piece to act as wings or capes or whatnot for the minifigures. As you can see here, it just wraps around the mini doll body. It's anchored by the waist and the head, so it really works well as wings. I think it's actually a pretty cool way of doing mini doll accessories, and I kind of wish they did this for more of the mini doll themes. I think in particular Lego Elves could have really benefited from those pieces, but as of right now, they were pretty much just used in the DC Superhero Girls line. The helicopter itself is nothing super special. You just have this little mini helicopter built here, but it's kind of cute for what it is. Over here we have a bit of a station for Crypto the Super Dog with an adorable dual molded piece for the Superhero Girls lineup, as well as the Lashina tank featuring the whip in silver, which is actually a pretty interesting piece to get. This is also a brand new specialized hair piece that is specially painted in silver for the character itself. We never actually got this character in standard minifigure form, so it's kind of interesting how the only time we got a DC Superheroes character was in mini doll form here for the tank. Although the tank is just really super simple, I think I honestly prefer the helicopter because I think it's just a bit of a nicer form factor. With that though, we've summed up our look at these sets. So you might be wondering, why on earth did I get this random 4+ Lego set? So the answer is I was going around the Borders bookstore in Dubai and I saw that they had a bit of a deal. Receive a free gift with purchase that was Lego related if I spent a certain amount of money. So I went around the store, I found some more interesting discontinued stuff, which we're about to get to, but I realized I was a couple bucks short. So I just bought this really small set. I don't really have any need for it. One thing I do like are the printed tiles here, or the printed slopes. I actually really like the way that these are done. This also introduced the 2 stack plates here that are fully ridged, which are very interesting to get as pieces. So this is not a bad parts pack, to be honest. There's some nice vehicle building pieces here. You've got the front scoop and you have the roll cage element. So all in all, I'm actually pretty happy with the set and how it turned out. Again though, really only got it to satisfy the purchase limit, so that's what it is. Let's just move on. Some other sets I randomly found at deep discount at Borders as well in Dubai are these Lego Disney Princesses Palace Pet sub-theme sets. Now, these I honestly kind of didn't even realize existed. They were really small, really cheap. They were discounted so much they were almost the price of polybags, so I had to pick them up, mostly because I just kind of wanted to play around with these specialized dual molded special animals they included in each one of these sets. So this sub-theme was essentially dedicated to random different pets from the Disney lineup. I believe there was a TV show or cartoon or something surrounding this line when it first came out, but I'm guessing it did not perform too well, given that these sets were still on store shelves and fully sealed at a deep discount. The builds are pretty much just kind of standard throwaway builds, nothing too fancy to see with the builds here, but I always do like collecting random licensed Lego animals, and these are actually really well done. If you look, every single one of them is dual molded with multiple attachment points. You have a pretty interesting crown piece at the top right there as well, which I personally have not seen before in Lego form. You also have this one right here, which again, dual molding with the white and the blue here, as well as different attachment points. They're a little too cutesy to be used anywhere outside of their existing applications, and also very specific animals from what I can tell, but I still think it's really interesting to get these very specialized dual molded animal pieces, being pretty much confined to just this line of very small sets. These sets came out around 2018, and with that we can probably now move on to some more interesting stuff. So here we have some more random discontinued Lego sets. These are the Lego Powerpuff Girl sets from 2018. They actually reused the Powerpuff Girl minifigures from Lego Dimensions, but introduced a few of the major villains, as well as just featured an assortment of side builds for each. The most interesting of which to me is this mech right here, which is very similar to the Nexo Knight's power armor and even to an extent the Marvel battle mechs, but kind of interesting seeing it pop up in a Powerpuff Girls set of all things. So when these first came out, personally I wasn't too interested in getting them. I have never seen the show, I'm not really familiar with the characters, but as time went on and eventually they got discontinued, I kind of regretted not picking up at least the very odd specialized molded components for the villains here. You can see that Mojo Jojo here has a specialized dual molded lime and black chimp head. You've also got a red and tan head here for this villain, so really an interesting setup for the minifigures in particular, and that's ultimately what motivated me to get them. I saw one of these sets, particularly this one, I believe the Bubbles Playground Strike, on sale at Legoland Dubai. So Legoland Dubai did not have a ton of different stuff, but they did have this on deep sale, deep discount, so I was like, okay, might as well just grab it because I didn't actually own it previously. And I got the other set from the Special Delivery Dubai service, which I kind of randomly found while looking for Lego shops in Dubai. So I was able to pick up the other set right here, the Mojo Jojo Strikes from them. So that was a pretty interesting find to get both of these from Dubai, two different locations, but ultimately I'm happy that I eventually own them. It's always cool to collect two random licensed Lego sets. I would be very surprised if Lego ever revisited this lineup, so I'm just happy I was able to get the figures while I can, especially because they're just really interesting figures in general, and they have all sorts of different play features. So you've got a little car from Mojo Jojo here, a specialized purple cape that goes alongside him as well. This is a specially printed piece right here on the top here, so kind of featuring his brain, which honestly is printed better than most Lego Astromechs. I mean, Lego, come on, this is like really good for what it is. You have the mech here, which is somewhat posable. I have not seen the Chima fist elements in yellow before, so it's nice to get these fully recolored. They're just useful minifig pieces to have. The back of the mech is super simple. You just kind of have the minifigure sitting back there, but that's how it works here. And you also have a diamond store with a breakable window, so kind of pushing this lever here causes the entire front of the store to burst open. You've got one of the robot evil minions hovering above it. I presume that's there to throw the dynamite to burst it open. And then you have full access to the diamonds inside. So super simple play features, but just kind of fun stuff to have. I do enjoy the look and feel of these sets, and I do wish that Lego would do more random licenses like this. With that though, let's now move on to the next sets. Alright, and making a triumphant return, we have some Lego Bionicle sets. These are specifically from the 2015 to 2016 run of Bionicle Generation 2, and I was lucky enough to find these in that one store in Dubai that actually delivered them straight to my hotel. So I obviously already own every single Bionicle set. However, I specifically chose to get these three because I've actually modified these the most for my own custom designs and really to improve them as sets for my own collection. But then I was just thinking, why not have these sets in their base form so I have extras to showcase the differences between the original models versus my more modified ones. And so here we have Skull's Scorpio right here, Qatar Creature of Stone, and Skull Slicer. Now, these two are kind of memes of the Bionicle G2 fan base. They probably are some of the worst Bionicle G2 sets we ever got. As you can see here, the Skull Scorpio cannot articulate his legs. You really just have him like this, and he has this really awkward function for his mask grabbing feature up here that really just looks like a massive Technic, but that's obviously why I really tried to improve him for my own designs. But again, I did want to get the original one just to showcase because in the show, there are different armies of these creatures, so I guess it would make sense to have multiple different versions of them. And the same really goes for Qatar here. He has kind of this awkward play feature to twist the tail on the back and actually cause him to chop his arms. It's a nice play feature, except it has no friction whatsoever. It looks kind of awkward in general, and really this was probably one of the worst beast sets that we got from the 2016 Uniters wave. And so again, I wanted to get this to showcase how different he is from my original modded version. Qatar also comes with one of the traps which have been set by Umarak the Hunter, so always good to get multiples of the trap pieces to amass in army builds. And of course, Skull Slicer here as well is probably the best out of the lot. He's not necessarily one of the better Bionicle G2 sets. I still think the Toa are the best sets that we got from G2, but Skull Slicer actually has a cool play feature where 3 of his arms actually work in the same gear function and the other one swings the other way. So that's a pretty cool function there. I actually really like
like how that works, so we just have him there as well, just in case I really want to army build these Skull Warriors from Bionicle's villain lineup. It was just kind of a pleasure to build new Bionicle G2 sets for the first time in a long time. What was really great about these is that these were priced really well, some even below the retail price that they originally came out on. So I didn't feel too guilty buying these directly from a seller in Dubai because, again, they were priced very well, delivered straight to my hotel. I walked into my hotel room and there was a bag of Legos sitting on the floor in front of me, ready to be built. So that was a really nice experience, and that about sums up this haul of everything I got in Dubai, minus the massive haul featuring a ton of discontinued sets that I got from the used Lego stores. But those deserve videos of their own. So this is a simple set. It is the Las Vegas Architecture Skyline, one of the older Lego Architecture Skyline sets. I believe it was released around 2017 or 2018 that I just passed up on because I wasn't collecting Lego Architecture at the time. Now this came from the special toy store that actually had these sets delivered to my hotel, which was super cool to get. Very nice to open the hotel door and just see a Lego bag already inside my room. And I thought it was just a really cool setup that they had a fully online service, but with free same-day delivery to anywhere in Dubai. It was a really interesting business model that I actually really appreciate because it was very convenient to literally place my order on the store, which the prices were really good, and just have these sets magically appear in my hotel room. So this is just a nice little build. They actually redesigned the set. This is the newer version. So this is the more common version. They had a different hotel, but after there was some controversy surrounding one of the buildings, they swapped it out and replaced it with a different hotel for the re-release. So this is the newer version, but it's just one of the sets I passed up on. I wanted to add it to my collection of Skyline sets. Never was the biggest fan of Las Vegas as a place in general, but hey, I'm trying to collect all the architecture sets, so here you have it, the Las Vegas Skyline. So this set I got also at the main Lego store, specifically to qualify for the free gift with purchase of the Luke's lightsaber free gift. Now this was actually a set that I did want for quite a while, but it was sold out on Shop at Home basically since it came out. I do not normally collect the Disney Princess sets, but honestly, I feel like the quality has really been improving. Their offerings this year, for example, are really good, especially with some of the stuff coming out on March 1st. So I'm pretty happy with this build, and I just wanted to kind of have a large castle style of tower because what the heck, I'm nostalgic for Lego Castle. So first of all, you have Rapunzel up there with, I guess this is what, Prince Charming down at the bottom or whatnot. You can open this up and see that the rock moves to reveal a cave entrance on the bottom, so that is a fun piece to get. Rotating this all around, you can see that the tower actually does have a full interior. You have some treasure chests down here, a kind of styling station, a full-on bed, and a painting studio, so pretty cool to see all sorts of detail being included in this one set. Of course, I had to get the set as well because it includes a little duck for duck bricks. So there's our little duck right there. And all in all, this is a pretty well done Lego Disney Princess set. Of course, a little bit overpriced for what it is because it is just ultimately a large tower of stacked large prefab pieces. But for what it is, I'm pretty happy with it. And this also introduces a brand new piece that came out from the Lego Friends Magic sets. This is the swing right here. So it really just kind of sits on Lego Technic attachment points and swings back and forth for a minifigure. With that, let's now move on to the next set. If Lego won't give us castle, then Disney will. This is the Cinderella's castle set from the Disney Princesses line, a line that until now I kind of ignored, but honestly, I've been looking back and I'm really regretting missing out on a lot of these sets because this, if you kind of ignore the colors, is a really good modern Lego castle. And I actually do really like the color scheme of the lavender and dark red. It's not way too cartoony, but it has its own fantasy-like place instead. And I do really appreciate the build of this castle, especially given that Lego is not giving us Lego Castle nowadays, at least that we know of. So, of course, to tide me over for my Lego Castle fix, I wanted to get this Disney Princess's Castle, but for whatever reason, this has been sold out pretty much perpetually from when it first came out. I was unable to find it at any Lego store in the US, which is why I was very happy to find it in Dubai, and I specifically was able to use this to go towards my purchase limit for the Lego Luke Skywalker lightsaber build, which of course, as I mentioned previously earlier in the video, I was able to get thanks to a very friendly Lego store employee. So setting this aside, let's take a look at the main castle. These pieces are actually fully printed, which was a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. It has a full-on dance floor area right here where you can do the ballroom dance, and you even have a Batman-esque transformation feature for Belle to change clothes here. Down here you'll notice that you have her in her gown,
And then you have her in normal clothes right here. So it's a very nice feature to have a mini doll be able to change clothes. It does include both versions of her to accommodate this feature in particular. And all in all, there's just all sorts of different unique pieces and stickers in here that really make the castle come alive. From the bookcase to the stained glass rose to another stained glass painting here, there's just a lot of cool details here. And you can even reveal a wig or hairpiece for the beast himself. So let's say after you transform him back to his normal self, you can simply remove the piece here and then use the hairpiece on the statue here to give the prince hair. So there you go. It's just a fun, nice, and charming set in general to have. I'm kind of regretting not picking up more LEGO Disney Princess sets, and this theme is definitely on my radar now for giving us what basically is the modern equivalent for LEGO Castle, at least in a more fantasy-like setting, that of course is based off of existing IP and not just LEGO's own creations. While of course it's no replacement for actual LEGO Castle, I'm just happy to be able to pick this up while I can, and I definitely would recommend building this set for people who are kind of on the fence about Disney Princess. This really won me over to the theme because it's a really nicely detailed castle with a big interior space, a lot of fun side characters as well, and a really nice looking exterior which does feel like a legit LEGO castle. Alright, with that we have summed up my personal journey going through the UAE and Dubai searching for LEGO. Let me know down in the comments below if you've been to any of these locations. If you're from here, if you have any recommendations for me the next time I visit, because I love Dubai, I love UAE, I do want to go back, and I have my next trip planned already, so I definitely will be going back. So let me know down in the comments below if you have any more recommendations for me, if I missed anything major, and also stay tuned for future videos covering the 2 amazing used LEGO stores in Dubai, as well as a massive pick-a-brick haul I got from Legoland Dubai. So 3 more Dubai related videos coming out because there was just so much LEGO shopping to do. I was honestly just blown away. But with that, we have summed up this video and this journey. I hope you enjoyed this kind of special fun look at some of my vacation and LEGO related shopping and the LEGO scene in different locations. Thank you all so much for tuning into Duck Bricks, and stay tuned for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. Bye bye for now.